Hilchis Nizkei Mamon Perik Chi. Behema Mu'beres Shehizika is Geva Chatzi Nezek Mimeno Umivloda. Mipnei Shehu Migufa. The Vlad is considered a chelik of the guf. Uber Yerech Imei. So Memela it's considered as if the Behema together with the Vlad was mazik. Memela the Nizik is Geva Migufa Umivloda. Aval Tarnegele Shehizika. Eine gave him Bitzosa. From the Beitza. Why? Mipnei Shah Beitza Eine Migufa. Aval Muvdeles Umufreshes Mimana. The Beitza of the Tarnegelis is not considered part of the Tarnegelis, and therefore the Tarnegelis was holding the Beitza inside of it. But Lepela was the Tarnegelis that was the Mazik, and Memela, the goof of the Mazik is only the Tarnegelis, and not the Beitza. Halacha Beis. Mu'beres Shenokcha, and Venimtza Vlada Betzida, the Vlad of the Mazik, the Mu'beres, which was Negeach, they found afterwards, you see after the Negicha, you see the Vlad Betzida. And then it comes out, so the Vlad wasn't part of the Negeach, the lady was there first. So the din is Mishalem Chatzi Nezik Minapara. You only have to pay Chatzi Nezik Minapara, Veina gave him Navlat Klum. So unless we have clear, and there's a raya, that she was Mu'beres while during the Negicha, so Memela we don't consider the Vlad as part of the Guf. There's no Hechra, there's no raya that the Vlad was part of the Guf, because could be was Yolda before the Negicha, and therefore you can't be Geiva from the Vlad. All of Lahavirai. So that's the halacha. In words, in the Mishnah over there it says that it's Chilkin, because the Mishnah goes according to Sumchis, which holds Maman Amutel Safik Chilkin. But the halacha is like the Rabbanan, that Ametz Mechaveira all of Araya, and therefore over here, even though it's a Safik Bemis, but nevertheless you go basa the Mursik and Memela, so the person that owns the Mazik, which is he owns the Vlad, so the Vlad is his. Halacha Gimel. Now, Sher Shenagach, the same way the other way. Sher Shenagach Paru Mu'beres, and V'nimtza Ubra Nefel Betzida, and Ve'in Yodua Imachalei Nokhi Pila, Machmas Negichi Pila. So it was definitely, this Mazik was definitely Ger, this Behema, which was Mu'beres, but we don't know if the Hezek is what caused it becoming a Nefel, or it was a Nefel before the Hezek. The Nefel didn't come as a result of the Negicha. And you do Imachalei Nokhi Pila. So the Pila had nothing to do with the Negicha. Machmas Negicha Pila. So the din is Mishalem Nezek HaPara. Ve'in Mishalem Nezek HaVlad. Shameitz Mechaver Ol V'Raya. The halacha is Ameitz Mechaver Ol V'Raya. The Nekuda is that Be'etzim, normally we say the Vlad. I mean, when we get this din, it has nothing to do with the first din. The first din is that the Vlad is considered part of the Mazik, and therefore, if the Vlad was there during the Negicha, you could be Geva from the Vlad. Masha'inkin, the Beitza from the Tarnegelis. You could be Geva from the Vlad. If it's a suffix whether the Vlad was there while he was Mazik, you can't be Geva from the Vlad. And then there's another din, that if you are Mazik, and it's not clear whether you are Mazik the Vlad, in other words, we see that there's an Eifel B'tzad, the behemoth that was Nokcha, and it's not clear whether or not the Gicha had took place before he was Ipila, and the Ipila came as a result of the Negicha. So the din is Ames Mechevei Ol V'Raya, and since it's not clear that the Negeach was the one that caused the Ipila, you can't mon from him for the Vlad. Halacha Dalet. Nogach Parah Mu'beres V'Hipila. We know for sure that the Negicha took place to a Parah Mu'beres. The Nizik was a Parah Mu'beres, and Lepela was the Ipila. So the question is, how do you assess the damage? So Be'emes, there's a Parah, and there's an Uber. So you can really assess them separately. You say, well, Marshall, a person can own the Parah, and someone else could own the Uber. So Mele, you assess how much is the Parah worth. If the person only owns the Parah and not the Vlad, and then how much is the Vlad worth? If the person only owns the Vlad, not the Parah. And Lepel, since he was mazik both, so Mele, he has to pay for both. Or we say no, that since there's one person that owns the Parah and the Vlad, you don't assess them separately as being a Parah and a Vlad, but you assess them as one Inyan, and that's also Be'amshach, because the Mu'beres is like part of the Parah, so you assess them as one. Memela, you look at the damage as one, and obviously that'll be a cheaper, whereas it'll be less. That'll be L'Toivas Hamazik, that he only has to pay not for the Parah separately and for the Vlad separately, but rather the Parah and the Vlad together. Halacha Dalet. Nogach Parah Mu'beres V'Hipila. Is ein shaman pchas Parah b'fnei atzma, and then pchas Havlad b'fnei atzma. El shaman kama hoisa Parah shava kshahoisa Mu'beres ubriya, and v'kama hi shava achshav while it's in the new matzav, kami yishava achshav hanefesh lo, how much is the para worth together with the nefel, as opposed to what it was worth when it was muberes, and a mishalem apchas, and then he pays the difference. He pays what it's worth less now as a result of this negicha. If he was a tam, so he pays half of that pchas. That's talking about that the para muberes and it belonged to one person. Halacha hey, hoisa hapara leechad v'havlad leechad. There were two people. One person owned the para and the other one owned the vlad. So here the Rambam doesn't really tie choice clearly. L'chura, the pashtus hadvarim is, and the bemis that's the Rambam Aruch says it, b'shem the Aruch HaShulchan, that you have to pay for the para separately and for the vlad separately. So in other words, the bala vlad has a right to mon for his vlad that you made him into a nefel. In other words, the vlad originally was worth more, and now the vlad is worth less. And Aldera is originally the para was worth more, and now the para is worth less. That's the first thing. Then besides the fact that there's the value of the para and the value of the vlad, there's also an additional value that the para lost its fat. Whereas when the para was muberes, besides the fact that it was muberes, and that added to its volume, there was also a certain amount of fat that was added to the para that came along with the ibur. And there was also a certain amount of nefach, in other words, size, which came along as a result of the ibur, which also raised the value of the para. As you take a look at a para mu'beres, even if you're not going to get the vlad, but the para looks bigger, it seems bigger, and therefore that also adds to its value. So that value also, that's an additional value which has to be assessed between the bala para and the bala vlad. This halacha. Hoisa hapara le'echad v'havlad le'echad. So haripchas hashuman shepiches guf hapara lebala para. The shuman which the para lost as a result of the negicha, that goes to the bala para. Upchas hanifchas, it says, but it should say hanafach. Upchas hanefach, which means the size, the fact that it was inflated in size. Upchas hanefach is chil kinesi, bala para and bala vlad. So that they divide, and v'hanefel shel bala vlad, and the nefel belongs to the bala vlad. So the Maisa is the Rambam is just saying that when two people own the para and the vlad separately, so then there's the fat of the para which has to be assessed, and there's the nefach of the para that has to be assessed. But l'chura, the ikar, which the Rambam l'chura doesn't mention, is that you have to pay for the para separately and for the vlad separately. You're paying for the para to the bala para, and you're paying for the vlad to the bala vlad. The bala vlad gets the nefel, which the Rambam fears is v'nefel shel bala vlad. So l'chura, you have to figure out how much was his para worth. How much was his para worth before this negicha, and then also the para was also worth more because of the shuman. So that shuman which added to the price of the para, that the bala para gets completely. Besides the fact, whatever other damages happened from the negicha to the para, other than the fact that he lost the shuman. And then, l'chura, the bala vlad has to assess how much was his vlad worth while the vlad was still in other words, it was muberes, and it was still alive, and there was a chance of it being born. And how much is the vlad worth now as a nefel? And then there's an additional value, which is the nafach, which the vlad adds to the size of the para, and that the bala vlad and the bala para share in that enhanced value. That's l'chura, the pshat. But the Maises, the Rambam doesn't say it clearly. The Rambam doesn't taichuriz clearly. In halacha dalet he writes clearly. You don't assess one separately. You don't assess the other one separately. Here the Rambam doesn't say if the para and the vlad belong to two separate people, so then you assess it separately. And then besides that, you also assess the shuman and you assess the nafach, and the shuman all goes to the balapara, and the nafach goes, you divide between the balapara and the vlad. The Rambam doesn't l'chura say that clearly, but that's l'chura the pshat. Halacha vav. And this is another point. The Rambam brings from the Aruch HaShulchan that the way you assess the vlad is you take a look how much was the para worth more when the vlad was there, and how much is the para worth now when the vlad is only a nefel, and that's what you give to the bala vlad, which is l'chura. I mean, that's what he brings from the Aruch HaShulchan. But l'chura on apashtus dikeif and bishleim, when the para and the vlad belong to one person, then you're assessing them both together. So then you assess how much was the para worth with the vlad. But l'chura now, when we're assessing the vlad separately, so l'chura you don't have to think about how much the para was worth with the vlad. The Pasuk Advarim is how much was the Bala Vlad able to sell his portion in this animal, which was Muberes, which was the Vlad. How much was the Bala Para able to sell his Para for, and how much is he able to sell it now for? Each one, how much is he able to sell it for, and how much is he able to sell it for? And then there's another prat, which is the Shuman and the Nefach. Halacha Vov. Sher shayiredev acher sher acher, and v'huzak, and lepel the share was redev acher sher acher, and we see that the share which was being run after is huzak. Now hanizik, but it wasn't clear. No one saw. There's no Adam that saw them actually be mazik. No one saw the mazik being mazik the nizik. You saw this one share running after the other share, and now we see that the second share was being run after is now huzak. Now hanizik came a share chehizik. Your share was mazik my share. V'zeh eimer eini yedei. I don't know. Shema b'sela loka. In other words, it's possible. I don't say no, but I don't know. Maybe your share got nizik through a seller, not through my share. So the din is hametz mechaber olavaraya. In other words, even though he's a bari and he's a shema, but nevertheless there's the din hametz mechaber olavaraya, and bari v'shema, bari can be metzi from a muzik. V'aval pisha nizik eimer ani yedei bevadei v'zeh eimer eini yedei. But nevertheless, since he's a mukzik, so bari v'shema, we still say uki momeine b'cheskosi. Now, toan hanizik v'omer vadei atu yedei sheshor chizik. He's timing, I don't know. Maybe you're right. But the nizik is timing, I know that you do know. You're just saying you don't know, but in reality you do know that I'm right and that your share was mazik, my share. So then, as I raise a nish b'shvuas hesed sheni yedei, then the nizik has to swear a shvuas hesed that any yedei, and memela, that's why he doesn't have to pay. That's im hoyamut. He has to swear that. Aval im hoyatam, but if he is a tam, is potter af mishvuas hesed. Shafila heide me'atzmi potter shechatzin hesed knasu umeide beknas potter. So this whole din where they're timing whether or not he was mazik or he wasn't mazik, that and we're saying that since he's not moider, he's timing any yedei, that's why he doesn't have to pay. That's only when we're dealing with a mud. So in other words, the share mazik was a mud, and the question is he chayiv or is he potter? Masha'enkin, if the mazik is a tam, so even if lepel the nizik would be moider, that his the mazik, would be moider, that his share was mazik, he would be potter, because chatzi nezik is a knas, and meida b'knas is potter. He could only be chayiv if there's Adam that are saying that happened. So again, if you have a share that's running after another share, so we know he ran after the share. There were Adam that he ran after the share, but there's no Adam that he was actually mazik. So even b'chiyah gavna that the mazik is moida that he was mazik, nevertheless he's potter, because lapil, since there's no Adam that he was mazik. So even though the nizik is tiny was mazik and the mazik is being made that he was mazik, and there is Adam that he ran after him, but nevertheless, since there's no Adam that he was mazik, so the mazik is potter because of made the beknas potter. Halacha zayin. So in halacha vav we saw Adam saw a share running after another share, but he didn't actually see them being mazik. He wasn't being mazik, so we say that therefore it's always hametz mechaver el varaya, and if it was a tam, so even if they're both made, he would be potter. Now hoyish nayim reit macher echad. There were two behemoths that were running after one behemoth. And there's Adam that saw clearly that one of them was mazik. However, the Adam don't know which ones. They saw these two shvarim running after a share to be mazik, and they saw one of the shvarim being mazik, but they couldn't tell when they saw the share being mazik whose share it was. And za'im share chehizik, the za'im share chehizik. Each one that owned the shvarim that the potential mazikim are tiny. The other one was mazik. So they did a shneim pturim again because hametz mechaver all over raya. However, them hoyish name shulishachot. If they both belong to someone, so to the same person, so miman of shachis chayiv. So therefore chayiv l'shalom miguf hapachish b'shneim. So in other words, if they were both tamim, and we have Adam that these two tamim were running after this other share, and one of them was mazik, and we don't know which tam was mazik, but we know for sure that one of the tam was mazik. So Mela, basically, we know for sure that there's migufi of one of the tamim has to be paid for this share. So you take the less. So you take miguf hapachshi b'shneim. In other words, let's say one of the tamim, one of those behemoths don't have enough to pay for the chatzi nezik, so you'll only pay that because maybe that was the share that was mazik. That's you take miguf hapachshi b'shneim. Whereas obviously, if there's enough in each of them, so it makes no difference which guf you take from. But if in one of them there's not enough to pay for Chatzi Nezek, and the other one there is, and since we don't know for sure which one it is, so you take from the one that there isn't, because Hametz Mechaver Olavaraya. That's if they were Tamim, V'mhoyim Muadim, and we know for sure one of them was Mazik, we don't know which one, so it makes no difference which one. So therefore, Meshalim Nezek Shalom in a Chasaf. Halacha Ches. Bamedvar Mamurim, that we say that if you know for sure these two animals belong to one person, and then you know that one of them was Mazik, and you don't know which one was Mazik, so you definitely have to pay. So if they were both Tamim, you pay from the smaller of the two, and if they're Muadim, so then you pay a Nezek Shalom. Bamedvar Mamurim B'Shishnei Hashvarim Eindem. There's both Shvarim that were running after this share to be Mazik, and there's a suffix which one was Mazik, they're both here. If one of the Shvarim died, and Echad Mem Tam, and one of the Shvarim was a Tam, now over here you have a suffix. You know, there were two Shvarim that were running after a Behema, and one of them is a Tam. And Pasha, you have to add that you don't know which one was the Tam, which was the Mud. You knew that from these two Shvarim, one of them was a Tam and one of them was a Mud. Now, one of those two Shvarim died. Now, you don't really know, Afal Pishein Shel Ishecha, they both belong to one person, but it's possible that it's the Tam that died. It's possible that it's the Tam that died, and it was the Tam that was Mazik. Now, if the Tam was Mazik and the Tam died, so mainly you're potter, because there's no one to collect from. Whereas if the Muad was Mazik, so then you could collect anyways, because we take from the Aliyah. If the Tam was Mazik and the Tam is here, so you could also take from the Guf HaBehema. But you're not really sure. Maybe the Tam was the one that was Mazik, and the Tam was the one that died, because you don't know which one was Mazik, and you don't know which one was the Tam. You have to add that. The Ram doesn't say that clearly, but you have to add that to the story. As Aval Pishein Shel Ishachot is Potter. Shari Emelei Havi Raya Shazel Emadu Sheizik V'Hashalom Lecha. Bring me a raya that this is the one that was Mazik. As if this is one that was Mazik, so even if he's a Tam, I have to pay for him. But Lepel, since there's no raya that he was the one that was Mazik, and it's possible that it was the Tam that was Mazik, and the Tam died, so Memela, so therefore I don't have to pay. Now over here comes out a Chiddush, because the Achreinim discuss it, the Shmaisei talks about it, that there's an issue whether you could be Meitzi Mamon based on a Svek Sveika. Normally, if there's a suffix, I'm Meitzi Mechaver al Varaya. But if there's, let's say, a Svek Sveika L'tzad HaChiyuv, Moshel in this case, in order for him to be potter, it has to be that the Tam was the one that was Mazik, and the Tam was the one that was died. So there's two Sveikas to say that you're Chayiv. It's possible that it wasn't the Tam that was Mazik, it was the Muad that was Mazik, and even if we'll assume it was the Tam that was Mazik, it's possible that this is the Tam that's here now, and the Mela Yachayiv. So even though there's a Svek Sveika L'chiyuv, there's a Tzad Svek Sveika L'chiyuv, and the Tzad of Ptur, there's a Svek Sveika against, but nevertheless you're potter, so, which means that a Svek Sveika can be Meitzi Mamon. And that is an issue that there's a Tesis in Ksubis, that discusses whether or not a Svek Sveika could take out and be Meitzi Mamon. So there's Bahamas a Dion Pshat in that Tesis, whether the Tesis really means that a Svek Sveika could be Meitzi Mamon. Over there's already a Cheskas Chiyav Mitzad Ksuba. That's a separate issue. But on that, the Shmaitzer brings from this Rambam. In this Rambam, we see that a Svek Sveika can't be Meitzi Mamon. I'll call upon, this is a Rambam that's brought to prove that a Svek Sveika is not Meitzi Mamon. Halacha Tes. Hayu Shnei Ashvarim Haroitfim, Echad Godel ve'Echad Kotten. One was big and one was small. Hanizik came Godel Hizik, v'Hamazik came Kotten Hizik. Or Haya Echad Tam ve'Echad Muad, Hanizik came Muad Hizik, v'Hamazik came Tam Hizik. Is in all these cases is Ametzi Mechaver Olivarai, and therefore you can't take unless you have a right. In other words, if the Nizik has a right of what happened, whether it was the Godel or whether it was the Muad, so then he has a raya. He didn't have a raya. The Nizik didn't have a raya. She's a hizik. Now we'll go back to the case. This is the case. So in other words, this din of halacha tes is be'emes coming behemshel halacha zayin, where we're talking about harei edim. We're talking about there are edim over here. There are edim that there were two behemoths that were running after one, and one of them was mazik. So we had a case. They didn't know which one was mazik. And so my two separate people, or one person, but I'll call upon them, we're dealing with a tzir where there's Eidim, that we know that two Shvarim were running after one share, and one of them was Mazik, and we don't know which one is Mazik. And here we're having an argument between the Mazik and the Nizik, whether it was the muad that was hizik, or the tam that was hizik, whether it was the gadol that was hizik, or the cotton that was hizik. So we say like this: if the nizik has edim, so he has raya. That's good. That's clear. Now, however, loy hoyse sham raya berura shezeh hizik, el edim eidim she'echad mishnei elu hizik, is that is mishalem hamazik k'meishamer. So the mazik pays k'meishamer. So if the mazik says l'moshel tam hizik, so he has to pay from migufi only chatzi nezik. If he says cotton hizik, they were both tamim, and the cotton hizik, so he only pays from the cotton. That he only pays from the cotton. He only pays what he agrees. Now over here, before we learned that lepel made the beknas potter, but over here he's not really being made the beknas because there's already edim that knows that there was a hezek over here. There's edim that knows that there was a hezek over here. The shvaila is only what the hezek is. So he's tining that he owes minimal. He owns only from the tam, and he only owes migufi. So he's not being mechadish. He's not coming along and being mechadish that his share tam was mazik. He's the fact that there was a hezek over here from one of his shvarim. We know already from the edim. Fakert, he's tining that it was the tam that was mazik, and memela he only owes migufi, or it was the cotton that was mazik, and therefore he only owes from the cotton. So al kopon, therefore he doesn't go into the gather of a made of a knas because there's edim about the general hezek. Now, so the din is that if there's edim that knows that one of these were mazik and the nizik is timing, and the mazik is timing that the lesser one, the tam was mazik, the cotton was mazik, so then he only has to pay according to his timing, even though the mazik is timing, the nizik is timing more. Now, v'imton ha-nizik, sha'ati yedei vadai shezeh hizik b'fanecha. In other words, the nizik is timing that you know that you really owe more. You're timing, you owe less. But lepel, the nizik is timing that he knows for a fact that the mazik knows that he owes him more. So the nizik is timing he owes him more. The mazik is timing that he owes him less. And the nizik is also timing that the mazik knows that he owes him more. He's not just timing he owes him less, maybe he owes him less. He's timing he knows for a fact that he owes him more, and nevertheless he's timing that he owes him less. So now is a mazik nishba shvuas hatera. So now the mazik has to swear shvuas hatera mishalim k'mei sheheda. Sharei heida b'miktzah. So he pays now over here he has to swear shvuas hatera. He has to swear shvuas hatera that he doesn't owe what the nizik is tining. So it's like a davar mechudish. And knows normally the din is a meida b'miktzah. If someone tines and the other one is a meida b'miktzah, so you have to swear. If l'mashal you can't swear about the rest, if you can't swear about the rest, so l'mashal a person says you owe me 100, and he says chamshin yadayna v'chamshin leyadayna, so there's a din that mitech she'eni yachal l'shav mishalem. There's a chiyuv shvua because he's a meida b'miktzas, and on the other miktzas which he can't swear on, the rule is that mitech she'eni yachal l'shav mishalem. Over here, he's tining, he owes him less. He's tining, he owes him less. Now, if it's not clear that he knows that he owes him more, or it's not even possible for him to owe him more, so b'chiyai gavna, even though he's tining, he's owed him less, and the is being a meida b'miktzas, he doesn't go into the gather of mitech she'eni yachal l'shav mishalem, even though about the other part he doesn't know, because he couldn't know about it. That's what the Ramara brings it from a shach, that no, it's not the regular case. The regular case over there, regular cases he should have known. You owe me 100. And he's tying chamshin yadayna v'chamshin leyadayna. So on the chamshin leyadayna, since he was a meida b'miktzas, he has to pay the whole thing. Mashenkin over here, he's tying he owes him less. Now about the other part, could be he would never possibly to know. So therefore, there's no chiyuv shvua. There's no chiyuv shvua either. There's no chiyuv shvua either, and there's not even a din of mitech. Mashenkin in a case where the nizik is tining that he knows for a fact that the mazik knows that he owes him more, and he's tining that he owes less. So over here it becomes like, now it becomes a regular, like a meida b'miktzas. It becomes like a regular meida b'miktzas. He's tining you owe me more, and he's tining I owe you less, and he's tining that you know you owe me more. This you have to add this prat. He's tining that you know that you owe me more. So now the mazik becomes a regular meida b'miktzas, and since he's a meida b'miktzas, so he has to swear shvuas hatera. And since he's tining that he beferish doesn't owe him less, so then b'chiyai gavna he has to he swears that he doesn't owe him less. Now if he's going to tine, I don't know that I owe you less. He's tining that I know for a fact you owe me more, and also you know for a fact that you owe me more. And he's tining, this is what I owe, but I know that I owe this, but I don't know more. So then there will be a shaila whether or not over here you'll say mitech. The Ram doesn't say any din of mitech over here. Whereas if you have a case, a mazik says I don't know more, I only know this, And the nizik is timing, you do no more. You do no more. So before we had a case where there was a mutzias of that that even though he's timing, you know, and I'm timing, I don't know. So then b'chiyai gavna. So we say that any day he's a mitzvah mechaver al varaya. But over there wasn't a meidah b'miktzas. Over here he's a meidah b'miktzas. Nachamol. There was for sure two shvar. One of them was mazik. One of them was definitely mazik. The question was which one. And the Edom are saying that we know that one of them was mazik. They don't know which one was mazik. They don't know which one was mazik. And the mazik is timing. I also don't know. I know for sure one of them was mazik, but I don't know which one. And the nitva is timing. I know for sure that the mazik knows that the chiyuv is greater, that the muad was mazik, or that the greater one was mazik. So b'chiyai gavna, are you going to say mitech? The Rambam doesn't say it. The Rambam just says that in such a case there'll be the din of meidah b'miktzas. Halacha Yudalev. Now until now we had a case of two shvarim running after one share, and the question was the two shvarim belonged to two separate people, so they're timing which share was mazik. So each one is timing the other share was mazik. So he's not responsible, and we say meitzim mechaver al varaya. And then there was a case where the two shvarim belonged to the same person, so definitely he's responsible. The question is which share was mazik, and therefore how responsible he is. That was the case that we had till now. And now, and the cases were also that there were Eidim clearly that saw that the share was mazik. The question is only which share was mazik. In other words, the fact that the share was mazik, that was clear. Because Lepil, when a person comes along himself and he says that his share tam was mazik, without Eidim knowing that there was a hezek over here, there wouldn't be any chiyuv, because a meidah b'knas is potter. So in order that there should be a chiyuv of a chotzi nezik, there has to be Eidim that there was a hezek. Halacha Yudalef. Hoyo hanizokim shnayim echad godel v'echad kotten. Over here we're talking about a new case that the nizokim were also, there were two nizokim, two shvarim of nizokim. Echad godel v'echad kotten. V'hamazikim was also echad godel v'echad kotten. And let's say the mazikim were both tamim. So the question is, now a tam is gave him igufei. So if the guf of the mazik is a godel, so there's more to take from. So if the godel was mazik the godel, so presumably the godel had a bigger damages. So memela, from the godel you could take more for the hezek of the godel. From if the cotton was mazik the godel, so the godel had bigger damages, but the cotton doesn't have enough to pay for the bigger damages of the godel. And al derech zeh, let's say the cotton was damaging the godel, if the cotton was damaging the godel, so you can't take that damages from the godel. So it's azay. Hoya nizokim shnayim echad godel v'echad cotton. V'hamazikim were also echad godel v'echad cotton. So it was one mazik that had a godel and a cotton, and there was one nizik that had a godel and a cotton, and they were both the two mazikim were mazik the two nizokim, and the two mazikim belong to one person, and the two nizokim belong to one person. Is a hanizik emer godel hizik is a godel, and therefore I can collect my dmei of the godel. This is the chatzi of the godel from the godel, which there's enough to collect from, and v'cotton is a cotton, so I can collect my dmei cotton from the cotton. V'amazik emeleki el cotton hizik is a godel, so therefore the damages of the godel is not enough in the cotton to collect for, so therefore you're going to lose out on some of the damages. And the godel is a cotton. The godel has the cotton, so the godel will be able to pay for the cotton. The cotton could have also paid for the cotton, but the godel is a cotton, and not the ikar is that not the godel is a godel. That's one situation. A shoya echad tam v'echad muad. The first situation where they were both tamim. The second situation, one was a tam, one was a muad. Hanizik emer hamuad hizik is a godel, and memeli has to pay an ezik sholin, and the tam hizik is a cotton. So memeli by negeh the cotton there's a chotzi nezik. V'amazik emer no tam hizik is a godel, and therefore for the godel it's only a chotzi nezik. V'hamuad hizik is a cotton. So for the cotton I'll pay an ezik sholin, but for the godel I'll only pay a chotzi nezik. So the din is hamoitzi mechaver al varaya. So the din is hamoitzi mechaver al varaya. You can't take any money from the mazik without a raya. You can't take any money from the mazik without a raya. Now loy hoysa sham raya brura. The nizik doesn't have a raya brura. How much to take? So the din is over here in this case. Hamazik potter. The mazik is completely potter. Not only he doesn't have to pay anything. Lemazet dema lezet teinas chaveri chitim vehedele beseirim. So the din is shu nishba shvuas heses upotter af mid meseirim k'mishi yizbar bil chestein. So the din is if someone comes to someone and says you owe me chitim, and that person says, I don't owe you chitim, but I owe you seirim. So l'chure, so chitim he wasn't made. But on the seirim he was made. But on the other end, since the Tiveya only mont chitim, so by, that's the Pashtas Advarim, since he only mont chitim, so by him monting chitim, he was made that he doesn't owe him for the seirim, he doesn't owe him for the seirim, so therefore he's pater af midei mei seirim. He has to swear, but he swears that he doesn't owe him chitim, because he swears shvuas esses. But on the other end, he also he doesn't have to pay the seirim, because the Tiveya was already made that he doesn't owe him seirim. So over here, l'chura, what's the pshat? Since he's tining that the godel hizik is a godel and the cotton hizik is a cotton, or he's tining that the muad hizik is a godel and the tam hizik is a cotton, and the other one is tining fakert. What happened was fakert. So I'll call upon him. The tiveya is basically saying fakert didn't happen. In other words, if the mazik is going to pay, he's going to pay because of his eidah. What was his eidah? His eidah was that the godel, the mazik will be saying that the cotton hizik is a godel, and the godel hitl is a cotton. Lepel, he said that's not what happened. That it didn't happen that way. So memela lechura the teveya, when the teveya is tining cotton godel hitl is a godel and cotton hizik is a cotton, he's saying the other way didn't happen. So now when the nizik, when the nizik is tining godel hizik is a godel and cotton hizik is a cotton, or the muad hizik is a godel and tam hizik is a cotton. So he's basically saying the muad was hizik is a godel, not the cotton, and the cotton was hizik is a cotton and not the godel. So now when the nitva, which is the mazik, tain is fakert, he's tining fakert. So fakert didn't happen. So elamai, he's tining what he's tining. He's tining there was no idah. So mele he's parted completely. That's what the Rambam is saying. Vim tofes on nizik. However, if the nizik was tefes, so just like over there, but negei tani chitim v'hidli v'seirim, is part after the seirim. But lepel, if it was tefes the seirim, it helps the tfisa. Vim tofes on nizik, arizim mishalim lekotten min hagodel, legodel min hakotten, according to the hidah of the mazik. K'misha hidah mazik. Avim lei tofes ein mitziyim an hamazik lum. That's what the Rambam is saying over here. Now the shaila is, how does this halacha here, where they're tining fakert the tainas, and therefore we're saying that it's like a din of tani chitim v'hidli v'seirim, shtim with what we learned in halacha tes and halacha yud. Over there was also a shaila, nizik emer halacha tes, nizik emer godel hizik, v'mazik emer kotn hizik. So there's a question, what happened? And lepel, the Rambam says in halacha yud, if there's eid meidin sheish echad mishnei elim hizik, is mishalim amazik k'meishamer. So the mazik has to pay k'meishamer, like he admits. But l'chura, that's also he's admitting something that the nizik tainit fakert. So l'chura, let's also call it tani chit ve'edel b'serim. L'chura, it's the exact same case. So the Maggid Mishneh asks this kasha. L'chura is a stira mamish from Tes and Yud to halacha Yud Aleph. So he says that in halacha Yud Aleph is talking about that there's no edim. There's no edim, and since there's no edim, so therefore it's different. It's very hard to understand. L'chura, how could you say there's no edim? Because if there's no edim, so then there's no chiyuv of a tam. A tam can't be chayiv without edim. So the first case in halacha Yud Aleph was l'chura talking about that they were both tamim, and there's an issue which tam was mazik, which tam. But lepil, there must be edim that there was a hezek over here. If there was no edim that there was a hezek over here, so even if the nizik is made to what the mazik is. What I'm saying, if the mazik is made to what the nizik is timing, he's also potter because it made the class potter. So I don't understand how is it possible to say that in halacha Yud Aleph we're talking about without edim, and if we're talking about with edim, so it's the same case like halacha tes and yud. So why over there we call it? We say that you're chayiv, and over here you don't. You say that it has a din of tani chitim v'hidli b'seirim. Mefarshim explain it. I don't know the answer. Halacha Yud Beis sher shenogach. V'chazar v'nogach sher acher. First he was negeach one share, and then he was negeach another share. So the din is harei hanizik horishin v'abayim shutfamei. Now this is talking about that not he was negeach and then immediately negeach. In other words, he was negeach a share, and then there was a hamada bedin, and they paskened that he owes to the nizik, he owes him migufei part of the share. So part of the share now belongs to the nizik rishon. There was already a hamada bedin, so part of the share hamazik now belongs to the nizik rishon. And now, when this share, which was originally mazik, which is now owned by the original owner and the nizik, they owned it together, went ahead and mazik. So now it was a behemoth of shutfim that was mazik. Memela, they're both responsible. Halacha Yudbe, Sher Shenogach v'Chazer v'Nogach Sher Ach. So the din is Arei Nizik Orishan ba'Baylam Shutim Bey. The first nizik, which received, which was entitled to Migufei, and there was already a Hamoda Bedin, and the Bailam, the original Bailam, are shut from Ketzad. Sher Shavah Masayim, Shenogach Sher Shavah Masayim, Ve'ena Nevela Yofaklum. So the first Hezek was that he did a damage of 200, and the Nevela was Eina Yofaklum. So Memela Hanizik, Natal Mayo, Balam Sher Mayo. So now they're shutfim in the share. The Bala Sher, the original Bala Sher, now owns Mayo of the share, and the first Nizik owns Mayo. Now Chaza v'Nogach Sher Acher Shavah Masayim, and again Ve'ena Nevela Yofaklum. So now it was a share that belonged to the Bailam Rishenim and to the Nizik Rishon, and it was Mazik again Masayim. So the din is Ha'achre Netel Meir. So the second Nizik gets 100 because he gets Chatzi Nezik, and V'Hanizik Shalafanav Ima Bailam Netel Chamishim Zuz. Each one has to give from his part. They have to pay 100 to this new Nizik. Each one owns 100 in the share, so each one gives 50 of what he owns in the share to the new Nizik. So Memela now the new Nizik has 100, and the Bailam Rishenim and the Nizik Rishon, each one has 50. Now Chazach v'Nogach Shir Achashav Masayim. So now we have a share that's owned. The original Bailam and the first Nizik have 50, and the second Nizik has 100. Now there was Mazik, a third Nizik, and again Shavah Masayim and Neveli Yofaklum, and again now they owe him 100. So they have to take 100 from this share, which is so the Achron Neitel Meir, the new Nizik, the third Nizik, he takes 100, and the Nizik, where does he take the 100 from? So half of it is owned by the last Nizik, so he takes 50 from the last Nizik, and the other half is owned half by the Bailam Rishenim and half by the first Nizik. So Memela is the Nizik Shalafon, so Ha'achrin Neitel Meir, and the Nizik Shalafon of Chamishim because he gave away half of his 100 to this new Nizik, and V'Nizik Orishan Ma'Bailim are Esrim V'Chamisha, because they each one gave away half of their 50 to this new Nizik. And Memela, so they're left with 25. So they're left 25. The Bailam Rishenim have 25, the Nizik Rishon has 25, the Nizik Sheni remains with 50, and the last Nizik, he remains with 100. That's how you divide it, because each one knows when the behemoth is mazik, so when you go ahead and take migufei, so you have to figure out who owns the gufei, and according to how they own the gufei, that's how you take the nizik from the gufei. Halacha Yud Gimel, nizik shetafas behemoth sheizika ligbeis chatzi Nizkei Migufa. So you have a behemoth that was mazik, and now the nizik went ahead and he didn't wait for hamad bedin. He went ahead and was teifus the behemoth izika in order to ligbeis chatzi Nizkei Migufa. So now nasa oleh shem mizachel nizachim. So now he becomes the person that's completely responsible for the nizakim of this behemoth. If this behemoth, which was originally mazik, and now the nizik was teifus it in order to be able to be gover from it, and now it went out to Mershus HaNizik, and it was Mazik, it's a Nizik Harishon Chayv B'Nizakeh. So now the Nizik Harishon, which was Teifasit, he becomes fully responsible for the Nizakim. B'Habaylim P'turim Ketzat, Shershav Masayim Shenogar V'Hifsid Masayim, Utvasi HaNizik, Ligbeis Mimenu Meya. In order to take his Meya, he took the whole share, and now V'Chazer V'Nogar V'Hifsid B'Meya V'Arboim, and now it did damage for 140, and Memela, that new Nizik is entitled to 70. So the din is Arei Nizik Achron Mishtalim Shiv. So the Nizik Achron gets 70 because there was a Hazik of 140 and he's entitled to half. The Hanizik Harishon Shetavsei is Mishtalim Mesin Nizkei. So he only gets the leftover of his Nizik. In other words, he was entitled to 100. So he pays 70 out of that 100. Out of that 100 he pays 70. And Memela, he remains with Shleishim. The Habaylim and the original Bailim is Mela v'chein kol kiyetzvah. So basically the din is when the nizik there was Hamad B'din, and now it finds itself by the Bailim. So the din is so the Bailim and the nizik are both responsible. So they both have to pay for their zekas. Masha'inkin, if the nizik grabbed it, he was teifasit, and now it was mazik. So now the nizik becomes totally responsible, and therefore whatever his zekas happened after the nizik was teifasit, you take it from the guf of the behemoth that the nizik owns. Halacha Yudalit. Shnei shvarim tamim shechavlu zebazeh. If you have two shvarim tamim that were chavel one each other, So the din is Mishalm b'meisa Chatzi Nezik. So whatever left over, in other words, you have to assess how much did one a behema aleph do to behema beis, and how much did behema beis do to behema aleph, and then you assess how much the Chatzi Nezik, like the Rambam is going to say. Now Shnei Muadim, if they were both Muadim, Shechavlu Zebazeh. So then Mishalman b'meisa Nezik Shalom, whatever is the difference of how much one was mazik the other as opposed to the other being mazik the first. So it's a Nezik Shalom. Now Echad Tam v'Echad Muad is Muad b'Tam. The Muad to the Tam is Mishal b'meisa Nezik Shalom, and Tam b'Muad is Mishal b'meisa Chatzi Nezik. And the Rambam teaches us case. Share Tam shehifshid b'Share Tam acher shavamana. So one share was mazik another share 100. Now v'chazah zera achrin v'hifsid b'rishin shav arboim, and the second one was mazik in the first one arboim. So Mela comes out that the first one was mazik the second one 60 more than that the second one was mazik the first one. So hari balarishin mishalim habalarishin mishalim lebalo achrin shleishim, because they're both tamim. So Mela the Rishon is the mechuyev al satam, and the other one's also mechuyev al satam. So Mela, so he owes him 30 because he was mazik him 60 more than he was mazik him. So Mela, he has to give him half of that. However, hoy shnei muadim, if they were both muadim, so then is balarish mishal shishu, because since he was mazik him, he was mazik him 100 and he was only mazik him 40. So Mela, he owes him 60. Now harishin muad va'achrin tam. If the first one was a muad and the second one was a tam, so the first one was mazik 100, and the second one was mazik as a tam, he was only mazik 40. So now bala rishon mishalim shmeinim. So in other words, there would be a svara to think that maybe they cancel each other out. In other words, he did a hezek of 100 and he did a hezek of 40. So let's speak about 60 because Lepel, he did the hezek, he did the hezek. In other words, this part, since they both did the hezekas, so they should cancel each other out. And Memele, he should only pay 60. We say no. Since when a muad is mazik, he pays nezik shalom. When a tam is mazik, he pays a chatzi nezik. So Mele, when the muad was mazik the tam, he was mazik 100, so he has to pay 100. Now when the tam was mazik the muad, so he was mazik 40. And really that 40, we translated into 20. Because Lepel, the tam only pays chatzi nezik. So Mele, it comes out that the muad has to pay 80. Doesn't pay 60, he pays 80. Now, Harishon Tam v'Achron Muad, it would be fakir. The first one was a Tam, and he was Mazik 100. So we're translating a Tam when he's Mazik 100, as if he was Mazik 50. And v'Achron Muad, the other one was a Muad, and he was Mazik 40, and the 40 of a Muad is 40. So the 100 of the Tam is 50, and the 40 of the Muad is 40. So Memela, so Balarishan, Mishalim Asara. So Memela comes out that the Balarishan has to pay Asara.